So the first thing is my wife and I were both born in Kenya. I had the privilege of being born in Kisii before settling in Nairobi and then subsequently the United States. Going into medicine, I think there's always that inspiration to want to help others and make a difference. And now that we've kind of gotten to a point where our careers are stable and we reflect back on our upbringing and backgrounds, it was hard for us to continue living our lives as normally as they are in the United States while seeing some of the disparities in the countries that we're from, specifically Kenya, Kisii, and those kind of things.
Most of the cases that we handle currently are trauma cases, and you can actually, this is because of the current situations that we have. It's a highly populated area with means of transport. Almost like the main means of transport being motorcycles, and so we get so many road traffic accidents.
So my full names are Edward Mairura. I am an orthopedic surgeon by training and practice. I'm one of the co-founders of the nonprofit, the Mairura Family Foundation. So I think one of the major foundation mission goals is to help improve health disparities. And so this camp addresses that because the challenge here in Kisii is that there's a lot of orthopedic pathology, meaning there's a lot of people who have different orthopedic ailments, whether it's deformity issues, whether it's chronic joint problems that cannot be addressed, or even as we're seeing neglected fractures that have not been treated. And so part of coming in with a team of medical doctors is to be able to fill in that health disparity gap by providing free services where we can come in with orthopedic implants with a team that can do adequate orthopedic work and then address those disparities by treating patients who don't have access or who have access but cannot afford the cost to get the right proper care.
My name is Dr. Antonio Rozier. I'm an interventional spine doctor in Dallas, Texas. I practice interventional spine medicine and rehab medicine, my own private practice. Well, for me, my background is in spine and rehab medicine. So since I've been here, I've really focused on those kind of patients. So I've seen a lot of back pain. I mean, I think everyone here has back pain. But back pain is actually one of the most common problems for people across the entire world. And so for me, I'm seeing a lot of degeneration, a lot of back pain, low back pain, a lot of neck pain, a lot of leg pain, a lot of nerve pain. And that comes from degeneration, that comes from a lot of the external forces of life.
Ni muda. Mimi nilianza maumivu kidogo kidogo. Nilianza na mwaka wa 79. Mwaka wa 79 nilipooleka. Sasa nilipokuwa ujauzito nikaanza kushindwa kutembea. Nilienda kwa daktari mwingine, alikuwa anaweka hosi yake huku hapo, mwalimu Mashauri hapo juu. Akanitibu, akanipa madawa, lakini sikupona kabisa, ni kukanya maumivu tena yanarudia. Sasa ikawa ni hivyo mpaka mwaka wa 80 karibu 87 ndio wakaja wakagundua niko na arthritis.
I'm John Harris. I am one of the orthopedic surgeons. What's the role of early detection or early diagnosis of orthopedic conditions? I'd say that depends on your diagnosis. So if you're talking about arthritis, lots of times that condition is going to progress. So an early diagnosis may not necessarily keep you from getting a knee replacement or a shoulder replacement or a hip replacement, but it can help you manage the symptoms. So if you actually know what your condition is, instead of just being a sprain, if you know you have knee arthritis, well, you can get treated appropriately. There are some things you can do to treat early arthritis or early conditions, chronic conditions like that. But to some degree, that stuff will continue just because once that cycle starts, and again, it's based on genetics as well as your activities, you can't always stop that. Some things, if you're overweight, you can lose weight and help with that, but I don't think necessarily that's a huge issue so much in Kenya like it is in the United States, where you have a large percentage of overweight individuals. Now, other things, other conditions, some sports conditions, nerve problems, if you detect those early, you can make a big difference. Nerve conditions in particular, if you have some back issues, if you have some issues where nerves are getting compressed and you can actually relieve the pressure, you can make a really significant long-term difference.
Nilikuwa na issue ya arthritis miaka 5, nikiwa nikiuanga naenda hosi wananipea tu painkiller, lakini ikaendelea tu ikashidi. Ilikuwa hata ukianza mwendo uwezi. Hapa unasikia tu umeteguka na kaa. Na humu ukitembea inajisiaga.
The patient, if I remember correctly, was a 69-year-old female who had developed arthritis in particular the outside of her knee. And arthritis in general, what is that? Well, that's loss of cartilage in the knee. So when you start to wear away the cartilage down to bare bone, that's when you have advanced or end-stage arthritis. And that's when people start to get things like knee replacements. Before that point, you can usually try to be treated non-operatively with a bunch of different types of treatments. So she was an older female, and how did she get to that point? Again, I think there's a couple of ways you get there, and they're probably multifactorial. I think genetics plays a big role. Probably her parents, if we could look at them, I bet you they have some arthritis. And then probably lifestyle. She's probably worked hard. She's probably done a lot of different activities that have put a lot of strain on her body. I think she was a little bit overweight, not terribly at all. I think, again, a big difference from here to the United States, you'll see a lot more obese individuals. I think probably hers is genetics and lifestyle in terms of just how hard she's worked, and she's just worn out her leg. She could have had an injury somewhere that also predisposed her to further getting arthritis, but I assume this was more of just a buildup from activity and just her genes. And so, she had a knee that was basically worn out mostly in the outside, and her knee was starting to kind of turn into an L. And so our goal is to, at that point, replace the joint surfaces and give her a brand new. So it'll be made of metal and plastic.
My name is Selina Isoboke Mairura. I am one of the co-founders of the Mairura Family Foundation that my husband and I started back in 2021, 2022, I believe. I definitely think this medical mission will have such a huge impact, not only in the community in Kisii, but I think overall, because once we landed, we found out that there's been a lot of media coverage that has spread the information about this free medical services. And there's a lot of physicians who've come, a lot of medical professionals from the US who've come where we live in Dallas that have sacrificed their time and effort to come out here to help. And we think that their sacrifice that they've made will really impact the people here, just because they have a lot of knowledge, they have a lot of education, and they're coming here to assist and to help impact the people here. So they will definitely not only impact the people here in Kisii, but I think overall. And there's so much more work that we can do. We will not only focus here in Kisii, but I think we can spread across the country and just impact different communities overall. Especially given the fact that access to healthcare in Kenya is a big problem. Even for me growing up here, I really noticed that it's the ones who have are the ones who have access to healthcare, but the ones who don't have anything really struggle to find access to the best healthcare. So this opportunity here for the doctors to be here for a week, even this week, will really impact hundreds of people. I mean, the first day I heard they saw about 150 patients. So by the end of the week, we can only imagine they'll probably see over 500. So that's a huge impact already.
So I saw several children. I think this girl was like 6 years old, and she had a fall, had a clavicle fracture, but it was months ago, so it was healed. But this girl was in so much pain because she couldn't turn her neck. And she was sitting here like this the whole time, and that was one of the toughest things I've ever done because she was so upset. And I felt so bad because in America, that would never happen. You would never see a child break something and not get care, because in America, ERs, you have to take care of the patient. You can't send them away. It's illegal for a person in America to go to an ER and have emergency and not get taken care of. So that blew my mind, seeing this little girl like just stuck in place like this and afraid to turn her neck because her pain was all stuck in her trapezius muscle and her paraspinal muscles, and she was afraid to move. And so what I did was a couple things. I gave her a nerve block. It's called a suprascapular nerve block. And this nerve covers your whole shoulder, your scapula, and a cup here, your trap muscle. So I blocked that nerve off and tried to ease her pain. And then I kind of broke up the tissue that was in her neck. Now, that was hard. She was crying, she was screaming, she was fighting, but I hope that I made a difference, because even when I left the room, even when we were finished, she was so scared of the pain, she didn't want to turn her neck. I tried to talk to her and get her to turn it, so I'm hoping that, that her mom, after we spoke for several minutes about therapy and rehab and that slow return back to normalcy, I hope she does it, because that little girl can get better. But it was really sad to see that a little child has to suffer that badly.
Some of the challenges we face here at KTRH as a facility is mainly, our main challenge is mainly implants. The implants that we use to stabilize these patients. These patients, once you fracture a bone, we usually require an implant. An implant is an implantable device. Most of the times it's stainless steel or titanium that we use to stabilize the fractured limb. So there's a process of acquiring the implant, which is quite costly, and maybe because of the current economic status of the region and the purchasing power of the population, we are limited with that. So most patients are not in a position to afford the implants.
Hizi zinasaidia wachwa sisi wengine tu fukara, hatuna namna, vingine vinatulemea kwa ajili ya kukosa fedha, lakini vile mmekuja hivi mnatusaidia pakubwa. Kuna dawa ingine nisingeweza kuenda kununua, lakini nimesapeana kwangu kwa hiari. So hapo ninashukuru, kwa maana na hiyo ni mipango ya Mungu. na alipanga. Hata wakati nilirudi nyumbani kueleza watoto wangu, wakaniambia ya kwamba huenda ndio maana ilikuwa ina sita wakati ufikie ule Mungu anapanga. Wajua sisi binadamu tunapanga, lakini mwenye anaongoza ni Maulana.
So initially my wife and I were very apprehensive about making this endeavor public because we weren't sure how people would perceive that, right? Because people may look at it like, hey, why do they want our money to go spend and do other things? So we were very apprehensive about, making public requests or applications where word may get out that this is really what they're trying to do. So the first thing my wife and I committed to was we were gonna fund 100% of what needed to happen. And if we got support along the way, then that would be a bonus. And so with that kind of mentality, the first set of people that we approached were our personal friends. I remember reaching out to 2 or 3 of my friends who are orthopedic surgeons that I had invited to be a part of the medical camp, but they said, hey, I cannot come. And so as a result, I may be able to give money. So somebody like, Dr. Dennis Sagini, who's our cousin and good friend, Dr. Rashida Biola. So those people privately gave money to us to be able to, use for this foundation. And then as well, Dr. Jamie Kalasar, who you met with the family, he has his own nonprofit foundation as well. And so as we spoke about the plans of this medical mission trip, we tried to see how could our 2 nonprofits work together. And he was able to kindly donate from his nonprofit, funds which actually are helping cover, your photography and videography team in terms of getting the coverage that we needed to be able to, achieve the foundation goals. And then from that, surprisingly, word get out as we spoke to our patients in the office. I mean, we had patients who were like, hey, I want to write a check to your nonprofit because you guys are going, how do I do that? And so we had a few patients that did that as well. But also I think the key player in all this is the medical equipment, which I think was key. And so, we had our partners with Stryker, which is a big orthopedic implant company, one of the biggest in the world in terms of revenue and implants. And so we're able to get their support through their grant donation program, which required about a 3-month process of approval. So we're able to secure that as a private donation, which was not cash, but at least the most important thing, which was the orthopedic implants.
I think the most rewarding thing is just helping one patient at a time and helping in any way you can and seeing that you've made some small difference. If we make a difference in one person's life, that's great. Some of these people who have bad injuries and some of these situations where they can't afford the implants and we're able to bring an implant and provide a service for free for them that they may not have otherwise gotten, and they can move on with their lives and recover and heal. I think that's the most important thing. I think we take for granted where we come from in terms of the resources we have and the ability to get care regardless of your status or how much money you have. And you see some of these patients who have had a broken leg for 6 weeks and they can't get surgery because they can't afford an implant, which can be expensive where we're from, but is actually pretty cheap here, but still costs a lot of money for them. But to be able to bring it, provide it, no charge, do the surgery, that's been the best part. Just seeing some of these patients, right after I've got done with the surgery, we go up to them and I'm saying like, we're good, everything looks good, and you can just see the genuine kind of smile on their face, and they're thankful. They're so thankful.
No, for me, this means a lot. I mean, I was born and raised here in Kenya, and I tell people this all the time, that I didn't realize how privileged I was until I moved out of Kenya. Because I think sometimes when you are home and you're in your home environment, you don't really realize how privileged you are because that's what you see every day. But I think once you leave home and see Kenya from a different lens, or see where you grew up from a different lens, or even see where my parents came from, where our grandparents came from, it really humbles you and changes your whole perspective in life. So I feel very fortunate and feel very blessed that we're able to give back to where we're from, and we're able to impact people's lives. For me personally, it touches me in a way that I can't explain, because we're able to also inspire future generations like our daughter, and also other kids who grow up in a privileged home. Right now we're focusing on healthcare because that's one of my husband's, that's his specialty, so he works in healthcare. But I think in future we have the opportunity to focus on children's education. So I really have a passion for children. We have a 19-month-old. This is her. This is Sienna Mairura. And access to education as well is a big problem in Kenya for a lot of kids. Yes, the government does offer free education, but the quality of education sometimes is what the problem is. So I think we have an opportunity to perhaps help in not only donating books, but just seeing how we can maybe digitize the education, whether it's bringing laptops, computers, or partnering with teachers maybe abroad and seeing if they can do virtual classes, or how they can probably benefit the kids here, in an education perspective.
I think, so my message to people who need help is don't be afraid. I think that many times people get nervous, they might be untrusting, but I think that when people are here to help you, just open up, right? Be open to it. We're here to help everybody. It's hard when you have strangers walk in and tell you this. Sometimes you might even believe them, but I think that we're here with very good intentions. This foundation's here to give all it can give and to fill the gaps that are needed right now. Have some trust, have some faith, realize that we're here, bottom line is we're here with love. And I think that's the main message. Like, we want to spread love, we want to support, we want to help, we want to change lives. So don't be closed off, be open, know we're here to help, and give us a chance.
Mimi nawashukuru tu sana watu wa Mairura kwa kutuletea matibabu. Tena nazidi kuomba kama watakuja baadaye watuletee ingine ili tutibiwe tuwe wazima.